Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the last webinar from ERA this year. I'm Dorothea, Communication Officer, and organized this webinar. As you may know, the European Union is determined to improve railway safety. That's why the agency is deploying several initiatives in the coming year, the European Year of Rail 2021. How can rail companies embed safety in their organization? How can they promote safe behavior at all levels? And how can they achieve sustainable safety performance? Today, our Executive Director, Dr. Josef Doppelbauer, and my colleagues from the Safety Unit will explain the initiatives, the main initiatives from the agency for next year. They will also discuss with representatives from the railway sector about how to practically implement this project and their tangible benefits. Don't hesitate to ask them your questions using the chat function which you find in Teams. The webinar will also be recorded and made available on our website in the coming days. I wish you a very fruitful webinar, and may I now please introduce my colleague Bart Accou, Head of Unit of the Safety Unit at ERA, who will be the facilitator of this webinar and lead the discussions. Bart, could you please switch on your microphone? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dorothea, and good afternoon, everyone. Today we've invited an excellent panel of guests representing some of our most important stakeholders, and that I will happily present to you later. But let me first give you some detail about the organization of the following hour together. Our Executive Director will introduce the discussion and detail an initiative for which we have received more and more interest from the sector, which is a safety leadership training that we've developed. Our panel members will then be invited to share their experience, feedback, and their points of view. After the roundtable and the discussions, we will take some questions, and Gregory Rolina, our Safety Culture Program Manager, will describe the modalities of a second important initiative that we will launch next year. This is a European Rail Safety Climate Survey, which is a unique rail safety perception survey that will be open to all European rail professionals. He will explain how any European rail company or authority can become a partner to this. During the webinar, of course, you can ask questions using the chat function, and you can also talk questions from other attendees which you judge valuable by clicking the thumb icon. We will then try to reply to as much questions as possible. But may I now pass to our Executive Director, Mr. Josef Doppelbauer. So Josef, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bart. Also from my side, very good afternoon and welcome to this webinar on enhancing rail safety. As Executive Director of the European Union Agency for Railways, I am strongly committed to further progress in this field. And I'm glad that today we have brought together an eminent panel of experts in this field. As an introduction, I would like to share some of my personal thoughts, and I will give you some background on our safety leadership training. Safety is a state of mind. Safety requires time and resources, and above all, dedication from everyone, from the top to the bottom. Let's not leave anyone behind. As leaders, your behavior counts more than anyone else's. You have a major influence on culture, and this is why we expect you to be safety leaders. Seeing the importance of the commitment to safety at the higher levels, we have launched the European Railway Safety Culture Declaration, starting with a conference which we held in Dubrovnik in 2018. This initiative was a very good start. We have now around 200 signatures, but it is not enough, which is why I have asked my team to prepare an innovative training to improve safety leadership skills in organizations. A training that concretely addresses what is needed for any manager and worker to be a safety leader on a daily basis. The development of this training has involved benchmarking, launching a task force also with the French organization ICSI, making a professional film, having internal test run, and then starting the deployment. Our approach is top-down and relies on the trainer's principle. We have run several tests with Thales, with VR Group, with Siemens. You may find a video clip on our website with some feedback expressed by CEOs and participants. On the content of the training is based on the 5 safety leadership principles. We are currently deploying these trainings and the principles at Ermewa and at Irish Rail. Unfortunately, COVID has slowed down our process, but we have further requests, for instance, from Deutsche Bahn, from the Portuguese National Safety Authority, and from ADIF in Spain. How can you request those trainings? Well, simply go to our website and you will find the necessary information on the ERA Academy. Now, I hand back to Dorothea to lead you through the next steps to the panel discussion. Dorothea.
Thank you very much, Josef, for this introduction. I immediately give the camera and the microphone back to Bart for the next part of this webinar.
Yes, thank you, Josef and Dorothea. Let me first introduce our panel members for today. So we have Kirsi Pajunen. She is a senior expert on rail safety at the Finnish National Safety Authority. We have Dounia Tazi, who is an expert in safety culture and human organizational factors and director of operations at ICSI, the Institute for Industrial Safety Culture. We have Doyle, who is director of health and safety at Irish Rail. Peter Reinshagen is managing director of Ermewa. We have Alejandro Treceño. He's actually an active train driver at RENFE, but here representing SEMAF as external relationships coordinator. And last but not least, we have Enno Wiebe, who is technical director at CER, the Community for European Railway and Infrastructure Companies. To start the discussion, I would like to give the floor to Kay. Kay, you're safety director at Irish Rail, the main operator of railway services in Ireland. Can you explain us why you decided to deploy the safety leadership training and actually what you learned from it, what the outcomes are?
Okay, thank you, Bart. Well, for me, it is critical that we understand the role and the importance of leadership in safety. And I think we all need to recognise that leadership is a key component in any safe organisation. But I believe that that's probably not very widely understood by managers. The way a person leads their team in health and safety can determine how safe the workplace is. And we all see examples of that within our own workplace where some people are better than others. And a person's attitudes and beliefs to health and safety drives the behaviour. So managers who understand this can really influence the perceptions of the staff and encourage them to behave in a much safer manner. And I think that's the main reason that I decided to do the safety leadership training. Unfortunately, the rollout has been slow due to COVID situation. However, the feedback with what we have done has been very, very positive. And in general, people see that the training has given them a very good understanding of how to influence behaviour across a number of functions within the railway, not just always at the front line, where I suppose sometimes we tend to concentrate our efforts because they're the people that can immediately, I suppose, cause something. But the training has really helped our leaders and our managers and supervisors to understand how they can actually influence safety right across the levels and within the various departments as well, even like planning and finance and so on. So I really see this training as being a very valuable next step in helping us to drive our safety culture and indeed improve our performance.
Thank you, Kay. That's a very strong message. Peter, as General Manager of Ermewa, who is a European leader in the leasing and maintenance of freight wagons and container wagons, do you have a similar experience?
Absolutely. The three pillars of Ermewa's vision are performance, safety, and sustainability. And all these three pillars are directly and positively linked. And there's, for example, absolutely no contradiction at all between performance and safety. The safety leadership training is thus an overall exercise at Ermewa. And the training that was provided by ERA was really exceptional. The returns from the participants and the future participants will very probably be exactly in the same remarks was very, very positive. We feel that it's really absolutely necessary to work on all three components of safety: the technical reliability, the safety management system, and the human and organizational factors. And the safety leadership training is really emphasizing the importance of human beings in safety. And this is a key message for us to provide to all our employees. And that's why we will, with the trainer concept of ERA, actually train every employee at Ermewa. And this is really essential to have the support of the agency to reinforce the message on the importance of safety in our industry. And thank you very much for this initiative.
Thank you, Peter. I believe that is a very ambitious plan you have. Kirsi, you as a safety expert at the authority side, what is for you the importance of safety leadership?
Good afternoon to you all. Thanks, Bart. I see that that of course safety leadership is like it has already been stated. It is one of the key factors, or actually a starting point for safety. It all starts from the managers, and they need to show that safety is important to them, especially leading by example. That's of utmost importance. And of course, one of the positive safety culture killers is saying one thing and then doing another thing. It shows that if the management doesn't bother, so why would the employees? I think that good safety leadership starts from formulating a safety vision, and then of course safety policy. Helps to create an atmosphere of trust and making management aware of how work is actually done in their organization. And then it also makes a good business case. Then about our role.
So you see a clear focus on leading by example and vision. Enno, as the voice of European railways, because that's what CER is, with more than 70 companies, I think, as a member, and representing more than, I think, 3/4 of railway operations in Europe. What importance do your members give to safety leadership?
Well, I can definitely confirm to you, Bart, to Josef and to the audience here, that safety is on top of our agendas. And as the railways are the safest mode of land transport, well, we have decades of experience with accidents, incidents, and risk mitigation measures. So the point for us is actually we do not start from scratch. We have safety cultures established in the member states, safety cultures established in our different companies. They all have one goal, of course, to make or to keep railways the safest mode of transport and to continuously develop. But as this railway system is all interlinked, and this is where the agency comes in, we believe there is a need to harmonize this safety culture. As I said, we don't start from scratch, but now we need to develop towards a harmonized safety culture, perhaps even a unique safety culture, of course, taking into account the national differences. But the most important thing is we are living in a transforming world. The railway system itself is transforming, and I think in the next decade to come with digitalization, we will make a huge leap forward. And this is where we very much rely, of course, on the European institutions, in particular the agency, to help us to drive this new safety culture, to keep the system safe and to improve step by step. We are, I think, fully aware of the risks. It would be naive to deny that there are risks. It remains a risky business, but the approach is to mitigate risks and to manage them properly. And from our point of view, and that is an important issue I would like to add, is of course the human factor as an essential part of the safety culture. So I think what I would like to say, actually, we don't start from scratch, but now it is a big leap forward to be made to work on this on European level. And this is where we, of course, count very much on our European interlocutors. And here in particular, I address the agency.
Thank you, Enno. Alejandro, Enno mentioned these risks of the railway system, and as an active train driver, I think you're confronted with these risks at the sharp end on a daily basis. For you as an operational professional, what do you think of this initiative, and what is safety leadership for you?
Yes, thank you, Bart, and thank you to the agency for the invitation, and also to the other speakers. I think that this is good news, that today we are talking about safety and also about future. As you can imagine, for a train driver, one of our main priorities is safety. We are trained on safety from the beginning. Since we are at the academy studying our train driver's course, we focus very much on safety. And I remind some words of a teacher of mine who was a train driver for many years. And he told us that one of the most difficult words to say for a train driver should be, for sure, the word no. No may be a word difficult to say for a train driver, but no meaning and always towards enhancing safety. We are very used to face the difficult situations and risky situations. So every train driver is very committed with safety. And we are part of the safety of the SMS, of the safety management system of the companies. And I think that we are not the last, we should not be the last barrier of the chain. And also we shouldn't feel like the only part of the chain sometimes. So I think we should have to create a climate of confidence and freedom to feel more comfortable with this matter, with safety. And regarding leadership, training on leadership, or leadership training, sorry, I think it should be it should be clear and also focused and easy to feel closer to safety, to make it easier for us. And I think that for me, at least, safety leadership is not the person who comes one morning to give us a speech about safety. But for me, a leader of safety may be another train driver colleague who is very committed, who is an example for me. So this way, I think it will be easier to get safety on board.
So thank you. So you clearly see leadership also at the operational level, but what I also capture from your intervention is that safety leadership is also about creating the context in which operational people can actually perform their tasks in a safe way. If I then go to Dounia, the ICSI, the Institute for an Industrial Safety Culture, is a recognized body of knowledge that is actively working on how to improve safety management within the diversity of high-risk industries. Can you give us some best practices from these other safety critical industries that we should consider in railways?
Thank you, Bart. In my opinion, the most advanced industrial sectors on safety leadership are oil and gas and nuclear industry. In fact, their first program on safety leadership are now they have more than 12 years old now, and among the best practices of these industrial sectors, I will mention first of all a conviction that everyone can be a safety leader. It is not something innate or reserved for some kind of elite or hierarchical position. Everyone can be a leader. Another point is that there is a very important work to be done to ensure that within an organization, one shares the same safety vision and share also the same mindset of what a safety leader is, describing what is expected from a safety leader. From some essential about this expectation, we can find the sharing of the vision, taking into account safety in arbitration and trade-offs, team spirit and transversality, lead by example, to be present at the shop floor level, and what is about the just and fair culture. However, what is expected in acts and practices is not exactly the same from a top manager or a frontline manager, for example. And it is quite a great effort to describe what is expected concretely from a top manager and, for example, a first line manager. Then usually, and what we know, it goes through a training and a coaching program, because in a way you become a safety leader. There is a co-construction and sharing of what a safety leader is, with specific skills that are required and how to implement them on the field. So the road is quite long. It will take years to achieve it. There are initiatives that intend to change and make the culture of an organization evolve. So it is something that really will take quite it's really a long way to achieve it. And finally, we can see that a person is a safety leader through his decisions and actions. The last element maybe that seems essential is that we must clearly go beyond safety first. because as such, it is not tenable in the real life of organizations. Many mature safety companies abandon this idea of safety first and move towards the fact that a safety leader must ensure and make it visible that in any situation, safety has its place, and for every decision, he ensures that the impact on safety has been taken into account.
Thank you, Dounia. So this is clearly in line with the message of Peter, saying that safety is not different than just performance. So it needs to be integrated. If you hear all this, Kirsi, what do you think would be the role of a good national safety authority in all this?
Thank you, but we also need to be integrated. I think that the role of the NSA is not some kind of outsider who is supervising the railway system, but the NSA has a role to play in the safety of railway system, and of course in building positive safety culture in which the safety leadership is part. And we are the NSA on its own, so we must also show safety leadership. We must, for example, when we go, leading by example, when we go to the working sites, we have to use proper safety clothes and so on. So we have to do that, and also we have to show that it is important to us, and safety leadership is important to us, and all our experts need to show that. But I think our most important role is to promote safety leadership, and of course just and fair culture, which is very closely connected to that. And this we can of course do by giving information, by training, by giving presentations, things like that. But that is the most important role that we have, to show that it is important to us and to promote.
Thank you, Kirsi. That's clear. Dounia, if I come back to you,